Welcome
Hi.
to this week's vlog.
Hello.
It's a bit stressful, wasn't it?
Never stressful for me.
So I was putting the vlog together. It takes about a day to edit it normally. Spent lots of time doing it, and then it wasn't uploading properly and I lost it all. So it hasn't got all the content we wanted to have in this week, but it is a lot of history from Swinton and Mexborough, which was really interesting to research. We wanted it to include some of the things that we do on a Wednesday with the crafting, but that's the bit that we lost, so we'll include that in a later one. And I think next week will be more about maintenance, won't it? Because you've been busy this week with maintenance.
I've been trying.
We've had problems with the boat, we've had problems with the solenoid, and then you've just been moving some electrics around.
Playing with electrics so we can move the inverter, but that's all a different story.
So there will be ones to come, and we hope you enjoy what we have done this week.
Enjoy.
See you at the end.
When you're moored at Gorilla Bar at Mexborough, if you need to turn your boat round to go back up towards Kilnhurst, you can either use the large winding hole, which is by Lidl's, but that does mean reversing probably about 300 to 400 yards to get to it, or you can carry on down past the Gorilla Bar for literally 100-200 yards, and as you can see here, the canal gets a bit wider and you can turn the boat around. Ours is 57 foot and there was plenty of room to turn it around just down here. It does take a bit of skill and a bit of shunting to get it turned around. We do have bow thrusters, but they're not currently working, so it's purely a case of being brave enough to put on full throttle, put your tiller the opposite way to what you want it to go, and it should go round. I'm not very good at this bit yet, but my son was with me as Paul was at work, and he turned it round, and we did get it round fairly successfully. So this section of canal is the Sheffield and South Yorkshire navigation. It goes from the quays in Sheffield all the way up to Keedby Lock, where it joins the River Trent. There's 43 miles of canal and there's 27 locks. It was originally made up of 5 separate sections of canal with different names, but there's now only 4 sections, as the Dern and Dove Canal used to be branching off from Waddington Boatyard in Swinton up towards Barnsley, but that did close in 1961. However, there is a walk that you can do along that section of the canal, which is about a 10-mile walk up to Barnsley. We are going to start it this weekend and we will do some future vlogs of it. If you are interested in doing that walk, we will put a link down below for the information on the walk. There are reports of the River Don being navigable as early as 1343, and then there was major changes between the 1620s and 1819, with various groups trying to improve the network and build canals. There was lots and lots of disagreements between groups in Doncaster, Rotherham and Sheffield, and there were several acts of parliament to try and get the waterways improved. In the 1840s there was lots of proposals to build new railways, and this did attract more funding than the canals, and then there was an amalgamation of the River Don Navigation and South Yorkshire, Doncaster and Gaul Railway in 1850, then became the South Yorkshire Railway and River Don Company. They did like their long names, didn't they, for companies back then. This was then leased for 999 years to the Manchester, Sheffield and Lincolnshire Railway. But despite some improvements to the canals, there was never as much money invested in the canals as in the railways, and this led to parts of the system towards Sheffield eventually becoming really largely unused and falling into disrepair in the 1970s. And then in the 1990s there was a concerted effort by Sheffield City Council and British Waterways to redevelop it, and then it's become what it is today at the quays, which is far more for leisure boaters, and there's lots of independent local businesses developing there as well, which is obviously really, really good for them and for the local economy. As you can see, we have now successfully turned the boat round and we're heading back along the canal from Mexborough up towards Kilnhurst. Mexborough is located at the north-eastern end of a dyke known as the Roman Ridge, which actually dates back to the 1st century AD, And it just absolutely blows my mind when I'm researching all this kind of stuff, just how long things have been in place and how things were built with the complete lack of technology and lack of mechanical power that they had back then. The earliest written reference in the Domesday Book to Mexborough dates all the way back to the year 1086, and it states that before the Norman conquest of England was controlled by a couple of Saxon lords. I think their names are Fulton and Uful, but I'm really bad at pronunciation, so I really do apologise, and I will put their names below for you in the description so you can see if you're interested and want to know any more about them. Anyway, jumping forward a few centuries, in the 18th, 19th and 20th century, Mexborough was well known, as we know, for coal mining, also for quarrying brickworks, and what I didn't know was also Mexborough and Swinton were both famous for ceramics. But with all of this industrial work around, it did mean that it was an area that suffered with very high mortality due to industrial illness, and that's why Mexborough Hospital was originally built, which is now under the management of Doncaster and Bassett Law NHS Trust. This piece of video was recorded in mid-January, and you can see from the towpath it is really quiet. There's just no one around. As we get a little bit further along here and we turn left and go under the bridge, the towpath actually goes up over the bridge. You can walk over it, takes you into Swinton, and then there is no more towpath along this section of canal from here until you get to the bridge at Kilnhurst by the nature reserve. There is a footpath through Swinton, so obviously you can walk that way. You can't actually walk along the canal itself because it's very industrial and there's just no path there to follow. As you approach the railway bridges at Mexborough, it is quite a tight left-hand turn, so it is advisable to blow your horn just in case there's any other boats coming the other way, just to warn them you're coming. There is a large winding hole here as well, which is used for the big Euro boat barges, like the Euro boat that goes past that we've done a vlog of before, to manoeuvre around, to get round the tight turn that there is. There is an Audi there as well on the right hand side. You can't see it at the moment because our camera's on the other side, but you're not actually allowed to moor there because obviously they need to keep it clear so the big boats can manoeuvre to get themselves round the bend. Sorry, correction, it's a Lidl's, not an Audi in Mexborough. Once you go under these double railway bridges at Mexborough and start heading further along the canal, you come into the Swinton area. They're very close together, and they're both very industrial towns of the past. So as we come under these bridges and come towards Swinton, Swinton used to be a centre for pottery of international importance called Rockingham Pottery. It was also, obviously, as with many of these towns in Yorkshire, renowned for its deep coal mining, and it was also renowned for glass making, barge building and engineering. Rockingham pottery is world famous, and I have put some pictures here for you to see, just small ones as we go along the canal. For those of you that are interested, there are displays of Rockingham pottery at Clifton Park Museum, which is in Rotherham, and again I will put a link below in the description for you if you are interested to go and look further at it. There is also a picture here of the original kilns that were used, and there was actually an archaeological dig in 2015 till 2018 in Swinton. This dig found the remains of some kilns as well as the remains of some pottery, and the kilns were actually closed in 1842. Once we come under these bridges, there's then a short stretch and then you come towards Waddington Boatyard. Waddington's Boatyard has been in existence for over 200 years and could explain the lack of towpath along this section of canal, as having a look on Google, there was reports in 1958 of the Waddington Boatyard owners thinking the canal paths were dangerous and that cyclists that used to use it to get to and from work were in great danger of drowning. So that in itself could explain the lack of paths here. This is still a working boatyard, although on a much reduced level to what it was many years ago. They do carry out a limited number of barge repairs here now, and there are transport businesses, as well as timber milling and woodworking services that are carried out on site. Also just here on this piece of canal that we have mentioned before is the Swinton Activity Centre that does offer boat handling courses. We do see a narrowboat come up and down past us quite often on a Wednesday, which is giving lessons to people learning to handle the boats, and they come up and moor up in front of us and then pull back out again, do a few turning manoeuvres and go up and down a few times. And they also have boats there that are available for disability access, and a boat that can be hired for pleasure cruises as well. I am stopping the vlog there for this week because we have already covered the next section of canal from Swinton to Kilnhurst on previous vlogs and don't want to bore you with the same again.
So there you go. I've learnt a bit this week. I know we've walked across the beginning of the canal at the Dern and Dove canal where Waddington Lock is. Thanks to Tash for doing that. Well, that's some of what we've done this week. More historical, yeah, as requested by somebody. So the next week we'll turn around and do a little bit of what I've done this week and next week, because it's still got to carry on with electrics, maintenance, and a few other things, I think. Please like, subscribe, and push the buttons that Tash is attached somewhere.
They'll be on the bottom.
Is that where they are?
Yeah, they're
okay.
on the bottom.
I think it's about time we disappeared. It's Friday evening. There's a visit somewhere. Gorilla Bar.
Yeah,
What
gonna
do you
say
think?
no guesses for where we're going for a pint.
Stress relief. See you next week.
Have a good one. Bye.